Good afternoon, or should I say good morning, maybe perhaps in certain countries to everyone. First of all, thank you for the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity to participate in this international conference on old and new indenture, labor practices and human rights. So as the chairperson has presented, myself, Dr. Arvind Bissessur, I am from Mauritius. And I represent the Mahatma Gandhi Institute, the School of Mauritian and Area Studies, where we have a department for folklore, Bhojpuri folklore and oral traditions. So as you know, in Mauritius, the language of indentureship, the language of Indian immigration has been Bhojpuri. So we have been working in the preservation and dissemination of the Bhojpuri language in Mauritius, and at the same time, we have been promoting it through different activities, through academic sessions, conferences, and getting it into the curriculum along with Hindi language. So many things that perhaps one day we will be able to share in a different context. So when you talk of international relationship when it comes to indenture and new indenture labor practices, old indenture, we more or less concentrate on the old one, because nowadays when we have immigration in Mauritius going on, that's why I've taken a bit, I'll go a bit of talking about whether immigration is taking place in Mauritius, whether there is indenture in Mauritius. We all know in Mauritius, when we had the indenture period, it was far from the slavery type of thing. It was more a contractual basis where people were recruited, they're given a contract to come and work. They were paid for that. That's another story when some people come up with, facts and figures and stories about how they were treated here. But at the end of the day, you will see when I'll be coming up with certain slides, how the memories of indenture has been preserved in Mauritius, is cherished in Mauritius, and many people still looking to link themselves with the indenture period and their ancestors who came from India here in Mauritius. So when we go to a certain extent, I will try to share my here. This one you will see with pictures of our immigrants, of our ancestors who came here in Mauritius. I used to take this opportunity to pay tribute to them, but when you talk of Indian immigration, it has left many imprints and memories in Mauritius, both in tangible and intangible form. History bears witness that this colonial island has been transformed socially, culturally, and economically by the perseverance, the dedication and hard work of Indian indentured laborers from India. I'm not comparing, but it is good to mention this, that the major chunk of social and economic development in Mauritius took place when the hardworking indentured laborers came into Mauritius, whereas before that, those people who were brought, some of them were running away from their responsibilities, running away from their colonial masters, and not, contributing as such. There are many stories to prove how that old indenture, how immigration of Indian indentured laborers actually collaborated with their colonial masters, who were a bit harsh at that point of time, but they collaborated with all the whims and caprices. And at the end of the day, they built that social fabric which coexists in Mauritius these days. So the immigrant, I use this term, the immigrant in me and me in the immigrant, in one of the paper I read for the Pravasi Ghat Trust Fund webinar. And I thank them, through them we got the opportunity to participate in this particular conference. These words of Mauritian novelist Abhimanyu Unnuth, they have deep connotations, because it cannot be understood only in terms of, how can I say, historical perspectives, in terms based on dates and facts, but based on empirical research and testimonies of the immediate descendants of the Indian indentured laborers. This paper will focus on how they lived. And perhaps nowadays, those people who are coming to work in Mauritius, contractual workers, what's the difference? And whether there has been that transformation in indentureship. Perhaps looking at the reasons why they immigrated and look into the soul of the common man who have inherited the customs, the traditions, and bear testimonies of the experiences of the immigrants. With reference to the ancient African word Ubuntu, meaning humanity to others, which is often described as reminding us that I am what I am because of who we all are. That's the collective thing. And we all know we all are what our ancestors made us become. The roots are there, they're very strong. So the paper will retrieve some events and facts, and also through informants whom we contact. At the same time, the paper will briefly look into present-day immigration of workers in Mauritius and analyze whether it has the exploitation aspect in it. So this one, our ancestors are totally essential. Look at this one, because you can read it, their lives, their hardships, their challenges. This is what actually inspire us in today's world. That is totally essential to every walking moment, although most of us don't have the fairest idea about their lives, their hardships, their challenges. I'll instantly look at today's contractual workers who come to Mauritius to work. I'll give you a vivid example. You know, we are in a pandemic period, we are in a COVID period, and thousands of workers, I won't say are stranded in Mauritius. You would be surprised to know that the treatment being given to Mauritians, as far as those who are infected by COVID-19, there's no big difference between the treatment being given to the workers who are working in Mauritius, whether from Bangladesh, whether from India, or the Madagascar, all the countries where they come to work here in our manufacturing sector mainly, and other manufacturing agencies who call them construction. Also construction, we have many workers working from India, from Bangladesh, thousands of them. So I just recall that decision of the government where those people who are infected, to send them to quarantine because they were infected. And I always take this example during immigration period in the 1834 onwards, when people from India were being brought to Mauritius, and they were spreading also an epidemic in the boats, the ships. Those immigrants, they were sent to the nearby islands. There's one Gabriel Island in Mauritius, and they had to stay there for weeks. And in one paper, there's mention that after some weeks, when they went back there, many of them died because they were staying there without protection from rainfall, from sunshine. Food was scarce. Many of them lost their lives there. And that spot now today is tourist attraction. And there is one, project to come up with some important effigies there. So when our hearts turn to our ancestors, something changed inside us. I'll jump back to the present scenario. I was talking about this pandemic period. The workers who are here to work as contractual workers, who are working in construction, in manufacturing sector, they were sent to hotels. in Mauritius. Perhaps never in their dream they would have realized that one day they would come in Mauritius, known as the Paradise Island, stay in a hotel with all the yeah, it was a quarantine. They were not getting the tourist treatment, but at least they stayed in a hotel. So just to give you an example of the treatment that these people get here in Mauritius when they're in trouble. I remember another example that just happened in Mauritius. I was talking about Gabriel Island, those Indian immigrants who came to Mauritius when they died. I wonder if their bodies were sent back to India at that time. Perhaps not. But nowadays, with all the dignity, whenever there are certain, bad events like accidents involving imported workers, their bodies are sent back to their countries with all the dignity. Recently, it happened to one person working in a ship. He died because of COVID, and although the sanitary measures were there, but the treatment given to them cannot be compared as what it was there. So we won't say that there is that exploitation aspect in it. Perhaps in terms of money as well, because in Mauritius we have that law of minimum wage, the minimum wage that the government has set. So there is no difference between someone who is working in a specific field in one area, the money that he gets compared to the other people. And many of them are very much satisfied. That is why some people have been staying for 10 years, 12 years now, contract is renewed. And they're happy they're sending money to their family. The money gets double in India and Bangladesh. So this is important to know that perhaps the country is doing this with the new workers today because of the economic development, social development that happened during indenture period with the collaboration of the Indian immigrants who actually have made this country an economic, I won't say superpower, but developing economy in the region. So this is the famous quote. When you come here in MGI, we have the museum, I'll be talking about it later on. There is one famous poem written by Abhimanyu Unnuth, which I mentioned. Wo Anjan Apravasi, those who can read Hindi, they can understand it. But for those who don't understand Hindi, to summarize it, it talks about the unknown immigrant. Desh ke andhe itihas ne na to se dekha tha. The blind history of the country perhaps has not talked about him, had not seen him. Nahi behre itihas ne suna tha. Neither we have perhaps heard about him. जिसकी इस माटी पर बही थी पहला बूंद पसीना का. So these are the people who came here and they worked hard, they toiled. जिसने चट्टानों के बीच से हरियाली उगाई थी. The people knew here. The country was a forest, rocks everywhere. So they had to work hard. वह पहला गिरमिटिया, the first immigrant. He was the son of this island. वो माटी का बेटा जो मेरा था, अपना था, सभी का था. I'm not taking verbatim what he says, but it is understood that we still consider that unknown immigrant as ours. And this is where I mentioned that one, the immigrant in me and me in the immigrant. Here, just to give you a glimpse of how we have collected memories of indentureship and kept safely with all dignity here in the Mahatma Gandhi Institute. We have the Museum of Indian Immigration. So all aspect of Indian indentureship here, the Folk Museum of Indian Immigration. If many of you might have visited Mauritius, when you get the opportunity, kindly do so. And we will surely be sharing these memories, these tangible memories, intangible memories as well are there with you when you are here in MGI. This is about the Indian Immigration Archives, which is very unique here. So the MGI Indian Immigration Archive, which consists of the largest repository of documentation on the international migration in Indian workers in the 19th century. We have approximately 2,055 registers of original records that contain information about 454,000 Indian indentured immigrants who came to Mauritius from 1942 to 1910. The records represent a milestone in the history of migration in the 19th century and are of tremendous historical value. I would much, it is there. You will see here, following a cultural agreement between the government and India and government of Mauritius, the Indian immigration records were transferred from the National Archives Department to the MGI in 1978. We have been keeping it. And then later on, the immigration archives has been recognized by UNESCO as a unique, tangible heritage of Indian immigrants in Mauritius. I would once again talk about the new immigration happening in Mauritius, where the contribution of the workers in the manufacturing sector is tremendous. They are contributing, perhaps my friends from Mauritius might excuse me for that, but the work that our brothers and sisters from these countries who are coming to Mauritius to work, the work that they are doing, it's praiseworthy, and they are helping the country stand again in front of all the pandemic that happened. And perhaps these people are, I mean, you barely have protests actually of workers in Mauritius. When you have one or two, the media hypes it, but actually there is no big deal of these people being ill-treated, whatever. There are certain incidents, I won't deny, but there is that sense of responsibility that the country is giving them so much in terms of recognition, in terms of all the facilities that they get. And perhaps these people, they are blessing us with their work that they are doing. Even nowadays, the tourism industry, which has been badly affected by the COVID-19, we have so many people from Nepal coming to Mauritius and working, and they're working well, they're contributing. And another aspect of indentureship, which is worth mentioning, that at one point of time, the immigration period, in that immigration period, mainly we had people who were who couldn't read and write. But nowadays, we have many people settling, coming to these countries, staying in the country, working in the country, immigrating in the country, and the government is giving all sorts of facilities to these people because they are contributing in the economy of the country. And these people are, I can say, high rich people settling, bringing investment in Mauritius and contributing. So I'm comparing this because when our Indian indentured laborers, when they come, they immigrated in Mauritius, many of them went back. And many of them returned, the returning migrants, because they knew that this is their land. This is the country where they can stay. They can give something to the country. And this is what they did. They stayed in the country. They progressed today. The offsprings, the descendants of these immigrants are the great leaders of the countries. They are the educationists of the country. And I'm talking about this right now because we just had a conference on Gandhi and everyone mentioned that when Gandhi came to Mauritius, the first thing he did, he went to see the Indian immigrants who stayed in Mauritius, their conditions. He talked to them. He said, okay, in the condition that you're living, it might be difficult, but make this country your own country. Make this country, get your children educated, get your children interested in politics. Go away from that, run away from here, run away from your responsibility. No, this is that message that Gandhi gave and made this country become what it is today. So you will see these records and these memories, these events are very much celebrated in Mauritius. Every year, 2nd of November is a national holiday in Mauritius to commemorate the anniversary of the arrival of Indian indentured laborers in Mauritius. And I'm showing this one because it was held in in a place which is very near to me, Antoinette Pouliard, which is actually of historical importance. It is the first place where the Indian immigrants settled, and from there they created their families and stayed in nearby villages, one village being mine where I stay. So it is very close to me. That is why I'm sharing this example to you. So you can see how immigration period is not forgotten in Mauritius here. And all these photos will prove to you that immigration in Mauritius, indentureship in Mauritius, how it was an old immigration, how it was a new immigration, which is also contributing to the development of this country at large. So to be frank, I wanted to have some figures, facts and figures of how many people are immigrating in Mauritius or working in Mauritius. But in COVID period, it is difficult sometimes to get hold of these figures. Perhaps when these papers will be published, we will be able to give you more details about how new immigration is taking place in Mauritius and compare it with the old immigration, which has taken place and which is historical around the world. We can see 450,000 plus people immigrating as indentured laborers in Mauritius. That's something which we will be talking time and again. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to participate in this international conference on old indenture and new indenture, labor practices and human rights. Unknowingly, I have been able to touch the human rights aspect as well, how it is respected in Mauritius, how it was, how it is. And we are pretty sure that this aspect of ill treatment, that aspect of exploitation will never happen in this country, because we know from the collective memory, we know from history what difficult times our ancestors went through. To end up, I'll take my personal example. A personal example, I have a friend, he's from Madagascar. He works here in a manufacturing industry. And the day he's not working, he phones me, calls me. If ever there is some work, he comes and do it, and we pay them for that. And he's like a member of the family in my family. He's from Madagascar, not of the same region, of course, but he's most welcome in my house. My mother gives him food, and I work with him, along with him. He's not a worker for me. He's a friend with me who's collaborating with me. So those people who are actually immigrating in Mauritius, who are actually working in Mauritius, they are our brothers and sisters. And we have this mentality because our ancestors went through difficult times, and we are not colonial masters. We are people who are, as I said, the immigrant in me, and me, the immigrant. Thank you very much once again. And I hope I wanted to stay with you for the question and answers, but we have some more activities for the Gandhian celebration and all. We are participating, myself being in the media, so we have to do with that. So on behalf of the Mahatma Gandhi Institute, on behalf of Mauritius, congratulations to the organizing committee and fruitful deliberation for this conference. Thank you very much.